Hello, coming to you from Omaha, Nebraska, where the weather forecasts are never correct. Welcome to the Out of the Dust podcast. I'm your host, Weather Wizard Bryce Journey. Tied in with the popular recurring Out of the Dust geek list on Board Game Geek, the Out of the Dust podcast is a weekly podcast that is focused on re-exploring games we played that we hadn't previously played in a year or more. Why did the game get dusty? Why did you decide to dust it off? How does the game compare to how you remembered it? Are you likely to play it more often in the future? These are the questions that we're interested in examining on Out of the Dust. This week on the podcast, episode 24. On the Out of the Dust segment, I'll bring Concordia out of the dust, and a contributor will dust off Roll for the Galaxy. On the reaction segment, I'll react to the ChiTAG Awards. On the What I've Been Playing segment, I review Scarabya. On the Obscure Bryce Game segment, I review Triassic Terror. And we wrap up the episode by continuing my top 5 food games countdown with number 3 on the list. I recently had a chance to bring Concordia out of the dust. Concordia, designed by Matt Gertz and published by Rio Grande Games, was one of the Kennerspiel nominated games in 2014. That was a really good year for the Kennerspiel, and I have to believe that it was a close vote that put Istanbul ahead of Concordia. A decision that has become a bit of a controversy amongst Concordia fans. I played some of the Concordia expansion maps on Boitaju in the last year, but it's been a while since I used the big base game Imperium map. 3 years, 7 months, and 13 days to be precise. Concordia is one of those games I'd like to play more of. So, after wrapping up my Railways of the World recurring monthly demo at the local board game cafe last month, I decided Concordia would be the next game I tackled in monthly recurring demo form. I hosted my first session just a couple of weeks ago, and had 8 players show up. Fortunately, I had access to a couple of copies of the game. We played the big Imperium map to introduce everyone to the system, since almost all the players were new to the game, and now we'll start playing through the other maps going forward as player counts dictate. I'm really looking forward to exploring these other maps in the physical realm. I think the Salsa expansion is one of the great all-time expansions for any game out there, so I did introduce it to one of the tables right away, since I intend on using the Salt tokens and forum tiles regularly. If I continue to get such a high player count for this recurring demo, we'll have to take turns using the Salsa elements though, since I only have access to 1 copy of that. I won my game, but I was impressed at how quickly the other players picked up on many of the more subtle elements of the game, and I foresee some very competitive games when we meet again. Let's see what a contributor brought out of the dust this month. Garrett Wehrman, username Lemon, brought to Roll for the Galaxy, the popular dice placement reimplementation of the modern classic card game Race for the Galaxy, out of the dust. Roll for the Galaxy was also published by Rio Grande Games in 2014, apparently a great year for the company. Garrett last played the game 1 year, 6 months, and 2 days ago, and currently rates it a 8 out of 10. He writes, Roll for the Galaxy is one of my favorite games to play with my wife. I think it captures the essence of Race for the Galaxy, which I love, while streamlining and simplifying the gameplay, which my wife enjoys. Our gaming together has dramatically decreased after the birth of our son 1 year ago, so it was nice to bring this one back to the table together. Thanks for the contribution, Garrett. Race for the Galaxy was my most memorable disaster in teaching a game to my wife, a tragic episode that I don't like to recall. Roll for the Galaxy went over much better. I think the difference is that Roll for the Galaxy actually prints an interpretation of the iconography on the tiles. Why Race doesn't do this on its cards is beyond me. Reaction segment time. The ChiTAG Awards have been garnering some well-deserved mockery this week, and I feel compelled to join in on the bandwagon as well. In case you didn't hear, at the Chicago Toy and Game Exposition this week, the mass-market Hasbro game Don't Step in It a game in which players win by stepping on the least amount of dog poop, was awarded the coveted prize of Most Innovative Game. Now, to be fair, this exposition is not really focused on hobby games, and is primarily a mass-market affair. But still, not stepping in dog crap, Most Innovative Game? But the thing that really makes this ridiculous award worthy of derision are the other games that were nominated in the category that Don't Step in It beat out for the honor. Yes, I can with great assurity, and with every intention of never playing either one, say with complete confidence that Don't Step in It probably deserved to beat out Jeff Foxworthy's new board game, Relative Insanity. But do you know what else was nominated in the category of Most Innovative Game? The new and improved, revamped, and reworked Fireball Island! So on the one hand, we have this gorgeous game with incredible table presence that captures and invigorates a lot of delightful nostalgia for a lot of people. And on the other hand, put on a blindfold and hope you don't step on the steaming pile of Play-Doh dog turds. Did the judges even look at Fireball Island? Sheesh! If I were Rob Daviau, who reworked the rules for the new Fireball Island, I couldn't help but have my ego shaken to its core by this travesty. We can only hope he doesn't take this too seriously. Because he shouldn't. And because of this year's winner, I don't think any of us should take the award at large seriously at all in the future. On the What I Have Been Playing segment this week, I'm going to tell you about Scarabya, the new Brutal Cathala game from publisher Blue Orange. My friend Warren taught me this recently, and I quite enjoyed it. It's a puzzle-style tile-laying game, a type of game which seems to be coming out with great frequency this year. I'm okay with that, because so far I've enjoyed all of them. This one challenges players to lay pentrominos on a player board in an attempt to enclose scarabs printed on the board. A scarab enclosed in a 1x1 grid is worth 1 point. Scarabs enclosed in a 1x2 area are worth 2 points each. Scarabs in a 1x3 configuration of some kind are worth 3 points each. And scarabs enclosed in a 1x4 configuration of some kind are worth 4 points each. The game ends when all the tiles have been laid, or when no more tiles can be laid legally and the player with the highest score wins. The order the tiles must be laid is dictated by a shuffled deck with each shape printed on the cards that make up the deck and that are revealed one by one for all the players to place on their individual boards at the same time. The real challenge comes into play in that a new tile must be laid adjacent to a previously laid one. A rule I completely forgot about in the games I played. It's weird, but I quite often forget about adjacency requirements on new games. I had the same problem with both Kingdom Builder and Castles of Burgundy years ago when I learned those games. But adjacency rules are super important, and add a lot to the challenge and fun of these types of games. I'm always worried about these types of games leading to near-identical boards at the end of the game, but like games of Karuba, which also tasks players with laying tiles down on boards in the same order, it just doesn't happen, and the near-identical fear I've learned over the years is completely unfounded. Because of the simultaneous play, there is no downtime in this game, and it moves along at a brisk pace, providing no one has analysis paralysis, of course. Players may want to exercise caution in that regard if they know of anyone with that tendency, because this is the sort of game that might lead to that. This game has a nice ramp-up in tension as players hope for various tiles to be revealed next as the game progresses and nears its end. It's very satisfying to enclose a group of 4-point scarabs when the tile you've been planning for is finally revealed. It's a fun time, and I'm glad I learned the game, even though I played wrongly and accidentally cheated. Let's give a shout out to Blue Orange here while we're at it. Like their other games, Scarabya features some quality components in great quantity in an attractive box, all for probably the best value of any publisher putting out games today. In an industry that has seen MSRP creeping up in recent years, Blue Orange is releasing top-notch $20 to $35 games. Between last year's King Domino and this year's Blue Lagoon, and now Scarabya, Blue Orange should be on the radar of anyone on the lookout for engaging family Euro games. Obscure Bryce Games segment time. This week I'm going to tell you about one of my all-time favorite games, Triassic Terror, a game published in 2013, one of the greatest years for board games ever, by Eagle Gryphon and designed by Peter Dawes, the celebrated designer of Francis Drake. Triassic Terror is an area control game with dinosaurs. Area control with dinosaurs! Here's how it works. Each player controls a herd of a different species and will try to earn the most points over the 3 Mesozoic periods by occupying the most valuable spaces of the map. That player will still die in the mass extinction event, but they will go out on top. To accomplish this, each player will begin a round by drafting an action tile, which dictates what the player can do that turn, which might include introducing new herds to new environments, increasing existing herd sizes, migrating herds, or moving one of several predators on the board to eat opponents. Om nom nom. All of these actions will help manipulate the size of a player's herds in various ways, which dictates which point level a player occupies compared to their opponents in each of the various areas of the board. Bonus points are awarded for fulfilling certain criteria during the scoring periods, such as occupying areas in each of the environments of the board, or for having the most total herds in an environment. Everything in the game revolves around herd size manipulation, and the game comes down to a matter of timing, of when players choose to do which actions to what effect where. I love this game. Because of the way points are awarded, the leader is not always obvious, and the final scoring period often turns out to reveal surprising gains. The game plays up to 6 players, and each player count plays well due to player-specific sides of the game board. Since it plays so many, it's a game I always have in my back pocket for any occasion. In honor of one of my favorite parts of both Thanksgiving and Christmas, the food, I've been going over my top 5 food games. This week we're up to number 3 on the list, Cinque Terre, another game for the amazing year that was 2013. Cinque Terre was published by Rio Grande Games and designed by Chris Handy, who is best known as the driving force behind the Paco Games series of tiny gum pack-size games. Cinque Terre is not a tiny game, it comes in a colorful, normal-sized box. In this pick-up-and-deliver game, players are truckers picking up fruit from farms and selling it to cities in an attempt to earn the most money. I first learned it from someone at Spielbound Board Game Cafe who dropped in and wound up joining my group for some games one day. He suggested Cinque Terre as the last game of the afternoon, and it made an impression on me. It's a fairly obscure title, and it took me a while to find a copy in the wild to add to my collection. But I was able to earlier this year when a local seller happened to have it on their sales list for a good deal. Like Finca, which we discussed last week, Cinque Terre also features a rondel as the central mechanism. This rondel is composed of a series of farms where players can load up their fun, chunky truck meeples with fruit cubes in a series of cities to sell the fruit to. A combination of order fulfillment and set collection points gives players a couple of different options to strategically pursue to earn money as opportunities present themselves. Thematically, it doesn't make a lot of sense that the trucks can only drive in one direction, but mechanically it works very well. I'm generally a fan of pick-up-and-deliver games, but often games in this genre go on the longer side of things as far as duration of play goes. I don't mind that, but Cinque Terre plays at a brisk pace, and it's nice to have it as a quicker option when longer pick-up-and-deliver games won't work for a particular time frame. My wife enjoyed this one too when I taught it to her not too long ago, so I think I can avoid this one getting dusty in the near future. Well, that will do it for episode 24. Thanks for listening. Feel free to join the Out of the Dust podcast guild at BoardGameGeek.com. Follow the podcast on Twitter at OutofTheDustBGG. Leave a comment at the guild. PM me on BGG under user handle Radagast14, or email me at radagast14@CenturyLink.net. And join the Out of the Dust conversation yourself at our monthly geek list at BGG. All right, play me out, Ananda!